Consumer Reports just published its 2026 owner satisfaction data, and one SUV on this list disappointed buyers so badly that even a nearly $70,000 price tag couldn't save it from a regret list usually reserved for budget cars. 10 vehicles. Real 2026 Consumer Reports survey data based on the one question that matters most. If you had to do it all over again, would you buy the same vehicle? This isn't about what magazine testers thought after a week-long review loan. This is actual owners, months or years into real ownership, telling Consumer Reports honestly whether the vehicle lived up to what they expected when they signed the paperwork. Let's start with the one that surprised us the most. Number 10. The Volkswagen ID.4. This one's less about a dramatic failure and more about quiet disappointment. Reviewers and owners alike describe the driving experience as flat and uninspiring. Not broken, just forgettable. Power and range have actually improved over the years and now slightly beat the official EPA estimates, and recent software updates cleaned up some of the more annoying infotainment quirks. But good enough isn't what buyers hoped for when they signed up for an electric crossover, and that gap between expectation and reality is exactly what drags satisfaction scores down. It's a reminder that reliability alone doesn't guarantee happy owners. Sometimes a vehicle just needs to feel exciting to drive, and the ID.4 simply doesn't. Number 9. The Toyota Corolla Cross. Yes, even Toyota shows up on this list. The idea sounded great on paper. Take the Corolla's reputation and stretch it into an affordable crossover starting under $25,000. But reviewers found the execution felt more like an economy car dressed up as a crossover than a proper upsized Corolla. Car and Driver didn't hold back, essentially calling it the enemy of driving enjoyment. It's not that owners think it's unreliable. Toyota's reputation for mechanical durability remains intact here. It's that it just doesn't deliver the fun factor competitors in the same price range managed to offer, and that disconnect between what buyers expected from the Corolla name and what they actually got behind the wheel is enough to hurt satisfaction scores even on a genuinely dependable vehicle. But numbers 8 through 5 are where things get genuinely uncomfortable for some big-name brands. Number 8, the Acura ADX. This one lands on the list almost by design. Acura tried to build an entry-level luxury crossover, and entry-level luxury is a genuinely difficult needle to thread. Built on a platform shared with the Honda HR-V, the ADX ends up caught in the middle. Not quite luxurious enough to justify the badge, with owners specifically citing weak power, underwhelming tech, and more interior road noise than they expected. Optioned up near $44,000, buyers reasonably expected more polish than they actually got. And when a shared platform vehicle starts pushing that close to true luxury pricing, the comparison to genuinely premium competitors only gets harder to ignore. Number 7. The Audi Q4 e-tron. Audi built this as their volume play into the EV market, but the execution left buyers wanting. The interior leans heavily on shared Volkswagen, which undercuts the premium feeling buyers pay extra for with an Audi badge. And on the practical side, DC fast-charging speeds trail noticeably behind competing electric crossovers, which becomes a real daily frustration if you don't have reliable charging at home. Buyers essentially ended up with a vehicle that isn't quite luxurious enough and isn't quite competitive enough as an EV, either. A genuinely awkward position for a badge that's supposed to represent the best of both worlds. Number 6. The Honda Prologue. Here's a strange one. A Honda that barely feels like a Honda. Built in partnership with General Motors for Honda's entry into full electric vehicles, the Prologue rides on GM architecture and shares a lot of GM parts under the skin. Owners report a stiff ride, poor outward visibility, and acceleration that feels uninspired for an EV. It's actually outselling its GM cousin, the Chevrolet Blazer EV, but sales numbers and owner satisfaction are two very different things. And this is a case where badge loyalty didn't translate into the driving experience buyers expected, since Honda's reputation was built on decades of in-house engineering that simply isn't present in this particular vehicle. Number 5. The Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid. The regular gas Pacifica is actually well regarded. Practical, spacious, does exactly what a minivan SUV hybrid should do, and Chrysler has genuinely nailed the fundamentals of family-focused practicality with it. But the hybrid version is where things fall apart. A well-documented pattern of reliability issues tied to the hybrid powertrain and its electronics has left plenty of owners wishing they'd just bought the gas-only model. Even Chrysler's signature stow-and-go seating gets sacrificed in the hybrid, since the battery pack has to go somewhere. For a vehicle built around family practicality, that's a rough compromise to accept, especially when the whole point of buying a Pacifica in the first place was the flexibility that feature provides. If you thought that was disappointing, wait until you see what's coming in the final 4. because two of these involve six-figure expectations that simply weren't met. Number 4. The Mazda CX-70 plug-in hybrid. This one is essentially a two-row version of the larger CX-90, which sounds efficient on a spreadsheet but apparently doesn't translate into a compelling vehicle for real buyers. The plug-in hybrid model is the specific problem here. The 8-speed transmission handles the shift between electric and gas power in a way that catches drivers off guard, creating a clunky, hesitant driving feel that shouldn't exist in a properly tuned hybrid. Combine that with a price that creeps toward comparable Lexus hybrid models, and owners are left second-guessing a purchase that looked smart on paper but doesn't quite justify itself once you're actually living with the awkward power delivery every single day. Number 3. The Mazda CX-90 plug-in hybrid. Mazda's larger three-row hybrid genuinely succeeds at feeling like a proper luxury SUV. That part isn't in question, and reviewers have generally praised the overall driving refinement of the Mazda CX-90 lineup, but the practical details are where it stumbles. The third row is cramped enough that owners describe it as barely usable, and the infotainment system feels dated compared to rivals in the same price bracket. On top of that, keeping the vehicle in pure electric mode for its roughly 25-mile range requires a delicate touch on the accelerator, because anything more than gentle acceleration wakes the gas engine back up. The result is a stuttering, inconsistent driving experience that undercuts what should otherwise be a genuinely impressive luxury SUV. Number 2. The Cadillac Escalade. Bigger, more powerful, and more imposing than ever. And yet, once the initial thrill of owning one wears off, reality sets in. Fuel economy sits around 13 miles per gallon. Parking and maneuvering a vehicle this large becomes a daily hassle, and the total cost climbs even higher once you start moving up through the higher trim levels. It's not that the Escalade fails to deliver what it promises. It remains one of the most powerful and feature-packed full-size SUVs on the market. It's that living with what it promises, the sheer size, the fuel bill, the price tag, wears on owners faster than the initial excitement of buying one. And that gap between the fantasy of ownership and the daily reality is exactly what Consumer Reports satisfaction data is designed to capture. And number 1, the least satisfying vehicle on Consumer Reports' entire 2026 list. The Jeep Grand Cherokee 4X. Last year's standard gas Grand Cherokee started around $39,000. The 4X plug-in hybrid version starts at over $62,000. For that massive jump in price, owners expected a massive jump in capability or efficiency. Instead, they got a small amount of electric-only range, almost no real improvement to overall fuel economy, and a genuinely clunky driving experience at low speeds according to multiple reviewers. The 4X also drops the option for a third row entirely, cutting into the practicality that makes a Grand Cherokee appealing in the first place. Consumer Reports survey data shows fewer Grand Cherokee 4X owners saying they'd buy the same vehicle again than any other vehicle on this entire list. And Stellantis has already announced it's discontinuing all of its plug-in hybrid models for the 2026 model year, which tells you almost everything you need to know about how this particular experiment turned out for the company that built it. So, what's the pattern connecting all 10 of these? It's almost never about the base version of these vehicles. Look closely and you'll notice hybrid and electric versions of otherwise solid vehicles dominate this list. The Pacifica Hybrid, the Grand Cherokee 4X, both Mazda plug-in hybrids. When automakers rush electrification onto a platform that wasn't originally designed around it, the compromises show up exactly where owners notice them most. Driving feel, efficiency claims that don't hold up, and reliability issues tied to the added electronics. It's a pattern worth remembering as more automakers race to add hybrid and plug-in options across their entire lineups over the next few years. The fastest path to market isn't always the one that actually satisfies the person driving it every day. If you're shopping right now and one of these electrified versions catches your eye, don't rule it out automatically, but do your homework. Compare the gas-only version's price and satisfaction score directly against the hybrid or plug-in version before you commit, because in several cases on this list, the simpler, cheaper option is actually the one that owners are happier with long-term. It's also worth checking Consumer Reports' model-specific owner satisfaction pages directly, since they break satisfaction down further into categories like comfort, value, and how easy the in-car electronics actually are to use day to day. Sometimes a vehicle scores fine overall but has one specific pain point that would bother you personally more than the average owner. And if you already own one of these 10, don't panic. Owner satisfaction and long-term reliability aren't always the same measurement. A vehicle can score lower on satisfaction simply because it didn't match a specific expectation, even while remaining perfectly safe and functional to drive for years to come. Use this list as a prompt to research your specific model's known issues and recommended maintenance, not as a reason to assume something is fundamentally wrong with what's parked in your driveway. If you want the flip side of this list next, the 10 most satisfying vehicles owners say they'd buy again without hesitation. Let me know in the comments and I'll put it together for next week.